We are going live shortly.
Hello, everybody. This is Abdullah Sulaiman from Probel Academy.
Hello, Mr. Abdullah.
Hello, hi, Miss. How are you?
I'm well. Hope you are doing well too.
Yeah, Alhamdulillah, I'm fine.
Welcome to this session.
Yeah, nice to meet you all.
Okay. All right. So we will be starting our session in a couple of minutes. Everybody is joining. I had just requested those of you who have just come in, I had requested everybody else to make a quick introduction in the chat box so that we have this in record. Uh, so we will have all of this in our record, like who all have joined from where, which grade you are teaching, or anything in particular. If you would want to mention, feel free to mention. Okay.
Hi, Dia. Good evening.
Oh my goodness, Nusrat. Hello,
How
how
are
are you?
you?
I'm well. Hope you are doing well. Lovely to see you after a very long time.
It's all good so far. I think it's been 2 years. Time again
2
for
years.
MDA to make another visit. We will shortly plan for that.
All right. Yes, certainly.
How is
Okay.
everyone? Nisha and the other two girls all are keeping well?
Hello, ma'am. How are you?
Hi.
All right.
I
So,
think
big welcome to all of you. And I think it's time for us to start the session now. So, let me just share my presentation first, and I'll tell you what you can look forward to in today's session. So, the title of our session is Specific Learning Disorder Screening and Identification. So, what we are going to talk about is what is specific learning disorder? What does this term mean? The definition of it, how common it is, and then we are going to do a myth busting exercise where I'm going to give you some sentences and you will have to take some polls regarding whether it's a true statement or a false statement as far as specific learning disorder or dyslexia is concerned. We are going to talk about the importance of early screening. We are going to talk about some screening tools and the importance of assessment. In the end, we will end with some tips, some very general tips about for classroom teachers. This is not going to be a very detailed session. This is a huge topic, so there are lots of things which are involved when it comes to dyslexia, SLD. This is going to be brief. This is going to cover most of the important areas, and it should give you an overview of what is SLD and dyslexia. So to begin with, let's talk about what is SLD. So SLD is an umbrella term. As you can see on the screen in front of you, it's an umbrella which has 3 disorders under it. So the 3 disorders are to do with reading, mathematics, and written expression. Specific learning disorder in the area of reading is also known as dyslexia. So if you have a report which says dyslexia and another report which says specific learning disorder with impairment in reading, they mean the same. Okay. Then there is another area under specific learning disorder, which is to do with mathematics. That is known as dyscalculia, also known as dyscalculia. And the third area is to do with written expression, okay, which is known as dysgraphia. Now, when we look at each of these areas, reading is a big area which has several aspects to it. So the first aspect is reading accuracy. If you are asking your student to read a word, how accurately is your student able to read that word? Okay, so if the word is saw, if your student is reading it as was, then of course reading accuracy is affected. Then the second area is reading rate or fluency. Whatever your student has to read, how quickly is your student able to read that? Academics is a very timed oriented, thing. So anything that a student has to do within a stipulated period of time, either in the class or during exams. So if a student is taking a long period of time to read, then that's a red flag. It's an area of concern. The third area is to do with reading comprehension. So if you have asked your student to read a paragraph, your student, after reading that paragraph, how much is your student able to answer questions on that paragraph? That is to do with comprehension. Now, accuracy and comprehension are related. For example, if I read, I saw an apple, if that is the sentence, and I read it as I was an apple, that makes no sense. The entire meaning of the sentence changes. So your comprehension will get affected. So that's to do with reading. When it comes to mathematics, there are again a number of areas under it. Number sense. It's your, general sense of numbers. Which numbers are greater, which are lesser, what number comes before, which number comes after on the number line, the magnitude of numbers overall. Then math is a very fact-based subject. So you have to remember a lot of facts, you have multiplication tables, you have conversion tables, you have formulas, so many things to remember. So if you have difficulty, memorizing these facts, if you cannot remember them, then again solving your math problems will become difficult. And lastly, math reasoning, which is again dependent a lot on your reading and reading comprehension. If I give you a sum to solve, you will have to, a word problem to solve. After reading it, are you able to understand what operations you have to do to solve the, sum? So X has 3 pencils, Y has 2 pencils. How many pencils do they have altogether? Now I can just give you 3 plus 2. You know what you have to do. But here you have to read and understand, okay, I have to add. So their comprehension also comes into the picture. So these are the areas under mathematics. And when it comes to written expression, the first very important area is to do with spellings. We know if students make a lot of spelling errors, a lot of marks goes, right? So students who have dysgraphia tend to make a lot of spelling errors. So that's one red flag. The second red flag is to do with grammar and punctuation. So if your students grammar and punctuations are not up to the mark, then again the meaning of the sentences could change. It could become like a one long run-on sentence with no stops in between. And again, the clarity and the organization of written expression, which is to do with writing paragraphs, essays, letters, all of that also gets affected if grammar, punctuation, everything is affected. So these are the three areas under written expression. A student can have all three under SLD. They could have one, two also. Okay, it is not necessary that if a student has specific learning disorder, they will have an issue with all the three areas. A student can only have issue with reading and not the other two. However, that is a very rare case because reading and writing are connected skills. So if a student usually has difficulty with reading, the way you read is the way you spell. So they are connected. So we see that reading and writing coexist. But a lot of times we have seen that a student is only exhibiting difficulty with mathematics. It's only dyscalculia. The other two areas are not there. That we see. But usually reading, writing exist together. And also under reading, it depends. Not all students have difficulties in all the areas that are listed under reading. So keep this in mind. So basically SLD is an umbrella term with these three specific disorders under it. So that's to do with our umbrella. Now, just to check for comprehension, we will give you a poll to answer. And I will request all the teachers to attempt the poll. This will give me an idea about whatever I have said, how much have you understood about it. So is it possible to have specific learning disability, but not dyslexia? So the poll is on the screen. Please take it, everyone. Then I will share the answer. Fantastic answers coming in. Everybody buck up, answered the poll. Okay, we will keep it for, so it's 30 seconds, 20 seconds more, Aishwarya, then we will close the poll. I want everybody to have a fair chance to attempt the poll. Nobody should be left out. Okay. Still around 20 people need to answer. Okay, that's it, Aishwarya. I think we will stop it over here and share the results. Excellent, everyone. So majority of you have said that yes, it is possible to have specific learning disability, but not dyslexia. I just said that you can have dyscalculia, you can have dysgraphia, not dyslexia. Though having dysgraphia, not dyslexia is a rare scenario, but you can have it. Okay, excellent. So let's go to the next question. Are dysgraphia and dyscalculia two types of dyslexia? Can we have the poll? All right, everybody please take the poll. Quickly, we will keep the poll on for a few more seconds. Those of you who are on your phone, figure out where the poll comes. I'm getting a sort of mixed response over here.
Oh, can you please wait?
Okay, Aishwarya, we will end the poll here and share the results. All right. Most of you have answered. So it's sort of a mixed response over here. 56% of you are saying yes. Dysgraphia and dyscalculia are two types of dyslexia. 38% are saying no. Some of you are not sure. Okay. So the minority has got it right this time. Dysgraphia and dyscalculia are not two types of dyslexia. They are different disorders which come under the umbrella of SLD. Let me just go back to the umbrella and tell you again. So see, this is the big, box. Under this, you have three small boxes. Okay. There are overlaps, of course. So when I will talk about reading and writing later on, you will see how they overlap. But when it comes to the manual, which we follow as psychologists, to identify students with dyslexia, we look at these three separate areas, which comes under the umbrella of SLD. So dysgraphia and dyscalculia are two different kinds of SLD. They are not two different kinds of dyslexia. I hope this is clear, right? Show me a thumbs up, your digital thumbs ups, if this is clear to all of you. Or you can also show me your thumbs like this. All right, Nusrat is clear. I can see. Okay, lots of people are clear. All right, great. Because a majority of you said that it's part of dyslexia. So now you all know. Now let's move on to the next question. So the next poll is on the incidence. So how common do you think, which one is more common out of these three? So can we have that poll, Aishwarya? All right. So out of dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, which one do you think occurs more? And I know a lot of you know a lot about dyslexia already. This could just be an add-on thing today that we are doing, just like a brush up. All right. We will keep the poll on for 25 seconds more. Okay. Aishwarya, at 50 seconds, we will close it so that most people can respond. Okay, let's share the results. And yes, so 80% of you are saying that dyslexia is the most common out of SLD, and that is indeed the truth. So you are, almost bang on, as per your understanding of dyslexia. So dyslexia, if you diagnose 10 students with SLD, 7 to 8 out of them are likely to get a diagnosis of dyslexia. So dyslexia gets diagnosed much more. So it does not mean that other things with dyslexia cannot, exist. So there could be students with dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, all three. But dyslexia's presence is much more. It is very rare that you only have dyscalculia or you only have dysgraphia. That's like 20% of the case. Dyslexia is the most commonly occurring SLD. So since dyslexia is the most commonly occurring SLD, we need to understand the definition of dyslexia first. So this definition has been given by the International Dyslexia Association, which is the authority where, when it comes to dyslexia, their definition is one of the most comprehensive ones and is accepted internationally. This was given in 2002. It's a bulky definition with a lot of things in it. So to simplify it, I have divided the definition into different sections. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to talk about is what is the nature of dyslexia. So anything to do with learning involves our brain. So dyslexia is a learning disorder. So reading and writing has to do with the brain. So whenever the brain is involved, we say it's a neurological condition. So neurobiological. So neuro is is the neurological part, and biological means that dyslexia is hereditary in nature. So it tends to run in families. So for example, if when we do a case history, we usually ask this question. So does anybody in the family, have a history of learning issues? And most of the times we see either it could be the parents, a sibling, distant cousin, somebody or the other may have had an issue which never got picked up. That's a different thing. It was not diagnosed, but there is an issue. So it is hereditary in nature. So that is why neurobiological. And what are the chief difficulties due to dyslexia? Word recognition. So looking at a word and recognizing what is that word, and then decoding it, reading it. And of course, if you are not able to read it, your spelling will be affected. So recognition, decoding, spelling, these are the areas which are affected. So we see that though, the SLD umbrella, we see there are 3 separate boxes. The boxes tend to overlap with each other. That is generally the case. Reading and spelling, they overlap. What is the cause? Okay, now dyslexia is from birth. If suddenly someone has a brain injury, or there could be some emotional issues happening, there could be some family issues happening because of which learning is affected, suddenly the students reading scores are coming down, we cannot say it is dyslexia. It is neurological from birth, and it occurs due to a deficit in the phonological component of language. Now, whatever, any language that we speak is made up of sounds. So today also when I'm speaking, my words are basically sounds, right? Those sounds have come together, and because we know the language, we can make sense of it, what it means. Now, if I start speaking in Chinese, none of you will understand. It will just seem like a jumbled, array of sounds that is coming out of my mouth. So sounds make words. So phonological component is understanding how sounds come together to make words. If you have this understanding of sounds, you will be able to read well, because words are ultimately sounds. And then understanding how each sound is connected to a grapheme or a letter. It is a symbol, okay, to which one sound is connected. Once you understand that, then you are able to write it. So this is the deficit. Students who do not have dyslexia, they are automatically able to string these sounds and read and spell. Those who have dyslexia, they have to be taught how to string these sounds together for reading and spelling. That is something that we call remedial education. I'll come to it later on. So this is the deficit in dyslexia. And this is not due to lack of intelligence. So it is unexpected in relation to cognitive abilities. Cognition means to do with thinking, reasoning, problem solving, attention, concentration. All of these come under cognitive abilities, our memory. So it is not due to a deficit in the cognitive abilities, and it is not due to, poor classroom instruction. So if your classroom instruction is not good, you will see that most of your students are not able to clear an exam after you have taught the class. But if most of the students are able to clear the exam and only 10 to 15% in the class are not able to, pass or move on, they are lagging behind, then that question should arise in our mind. Why is that happening? What is the problem with these students? Now, I'm not saying it has to be dyslexia, but dyslexia can be one of the potent causes behind students not being able to succeed in the classroom or in academics. And again, if your reading is affected, your reading comprehension is affected. Like I gave that saw and was example. Okay, so if you are not reading correctly, you will not be able to comprehend. And if you are not able to comprehend, will you take any interest in reading? You will not take any interest in reading. So students with dyslexia often do not go to the library, pick up books on their own, start reading. They have to be told to read. They do not read signboards on their own, because that's an area where they're struggling. And when reading comprehension is affected, your entire reading experience goes down. You read less. And when you read less, your vocabulary development is affected, which in turn again affects your reading comprehension, because you know less number of words than other students. So it's a vicious cycle, basically. So that's the definition to do with dyslexia. Now we have another pole-based activity. So I spoke about the phonological component of language. So I will like to demonstrate this with one example. So Aishwarya will put up this question on the screen. Think about this. How many sounds does the letter A represent? So let's talk about one English vowel over here, and let's see the complexity of the English language and how it can affect students who have dyslexia. So take this poll, think about different words in which you have the letter A and how many sounds can you think of? Okay. Again, I will keep it for 50 seconds so that everybody gets a fair chance to respond. Don't think too much because it's not about being right or wrong. I'll give you the answer. This is just a discussion that we are having. Don't make any marks on the screen, please. Okay.
Ma'am, sorry, I couldn't answer. Can you please? Okay. Cool.
You couldn't take the poll, Nazish?
Sorry. No, I couldn't. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. No issues. There will be another poll. You can take it. Don't worry.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. So, as you can see, Aishwarya has shared the results. Most of you are saying two
Good.
sounds of the letter, A are there, then followed by three sounds. So that's the answer so far. That's fine. Okay, Nazish, another poll is coming up. Everybody look
Yes.
out on your screen. Now I'm going to show a sentence. Aishwarya, wait. And you have to read the sentence. And now after reading the sentence, you decide how many sounds are there. Okay. So this is the sentence on your screen. Okay. And now Aishwarya, put up the poll again. This time, let's keep it for a minute so that everybody has a fair chance to think about the sentence and decide. Okay. See how many times the letter A is coming in the sentence, and are you changing the way you are pronouncing it? Pronouncing the words in which the letter A is coming? You still have 20 seconds. Think about your response and answer. Give a few more seconds. Nazish, hope you were able to answer this time. Okay,
Yes.
fantastic.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Okay. So now we will have the answers. So I can see that, earlier more people were saying two sounds. Now more people are saying three sounds. So we will see. Okay, I'll need one volunteer. Somebody you have to raise your hand to volunteer in this exercise so that we can finally come to know how many sounds are there. Who is going to volunteer? Raise your hand. Not a test. Oh, Hannah is counting on her fingers, wondering how many sounds. That's good. It means she's thinking. Who is going to volunteer? If you don't, okay, Nazish is only going to volunteer. Okay, let me go to Mehroz. Okay, Mehroz, well done. Unmute yourself. Okay, read this sentence for me, please.
A man in a mall made a mark.
What is the first sound of the letter A here?
A.
What is this?
A.
Are you reading A man? How did you read it?
A.
No, that's the letter name. How did you read it? Did you read right? Second sound?
A.
A. What happened over here? What is this sound?
Oh, mall.
Fantastic. Tell me this one.
Made A sound.
A. Here you have the long sound, the name of the letter. What is this sound?
A.
So how many sounds? 5.
5.
Okay, so now all of you can realize how complex the English language is. We just dealt with one vowel, and one vowel is representing 5 different sounds. Now imagine a student who already has a deficit in this phonological component of language is not able to connect one sound with one letter. You have to connect 5 different sounds to one letter and understand how, in one particular word the letter A is pronounced in one way and then it changes, right? So students, thank you so much, Mehros, by the way, for volunteering. Students who do not have dyslexia learn this automatically. So we are sort of blessed that we do not have this problem. Though we have, at least I did not, I don't know about you all, we did not, receive extensive instruction in phonological awareness growing up, we still picked up. Students who have dyslexia, they get really confused because that is the area of deficit. You just cannot understand how sounds come together to make words and how one letter can have so many different sounds. And what's the rule? How do I know where I have to read a and how do I know where I have to read a? Where will it become a? Where will it become o? How do I know this? So there are rules of the language which has to be taught to these students to tell them, okay, if letter A comes, between 2 consonants, then you will have the a sound. If the word ends with the vowel, it will make the, it will be the letter name that you have to say, A. And then, there are different rules which the students have to be taught. That is called remedial education. Once they know these rules, they learn to apply them while reading. This is a long-term process. Remediation does not happen in a month or it doesn't happen very quickly. Students take a lot of time to learn this. And however, if you have, if students are taught explicitly using a scientific program, step by step in a structured manner, they do learn. And that's the only solution for dyslexia. There is no magic pill over here. Okay. So that's everything to do with dyslexia. Hope all of you got an insight into it. Now we come to dysgraphia, which is to do with writing. And I will just show you a written work by one of our students. This is an example I give in a lot of my workshops and webinars because this is a very classic case. Okay. If you just look at this, written work, write a few things about what's coming to your mind in the chat box. What are some of the errors that you spot? Quickly use the chat box to write a few things. Let me see what's coming up. I'll give you birthday. Okay. Some of the errors or some of the difficulties of the student. Spelling. Okay. Uzma is saying spelling. All right. Very good. Some other things. What do you think about the handwriting? Right, Nilofer is mentioning the handwriting. It's hardly readable, right? Placement of letters, Mehros, very good. Nazish, no proper gap. Sadaf is saying illegible. Nazifa is saying messy. Unmai is pointing out the handwriting. Very well done, all of you. Tahera is pointing out there are some reversals that she has spotted. Punctuations, Robin, very good, very good. Rakibul is saying uppercase letter and in the middle of the sentence. Yes, absolutely. So punctuations, what I'm getting is, I'll summarize. Punctuation, spelling, no gaps. You can hardly read it. Reversals, and how much marks are you going to give this student out of 10 if you are a teacher? Quickly write a number in the chat box. Quick, quick. 3, 5. Okay, Sunera, still very generous. Abdullah is saying he'll give 10 out of 10. Okay, I wonder, Abdullah, very generous, but if we are being realistic, teachers usually will have a very hard time deciphering what has been read. And so it happened with this student. Thank you everybody for your responses. 2, 4s, 1s. I see a variety, but it's usually on the lower end that I'm seeing the numbers. So teachers have a hard time comprehending what the student, is writing. So this same student, the topic was autobiography of a school bench. When asked, what did you write? This is what the student said that the student actually wrote. So the first impression that the teacher got of that student was, this student doesn't know anything, has written absolute gibberish. It cannot decode a thing what the student has written. But when the same student was asked to say the answer orally. Just see the difference that it makes. And the teacher typed it out on the computer. So this actually makes sense, right? Autobiography of a school bench. So we can see the difference between the thoughts and what is coming on the paper. This frequently happens with students who have dysgraphia. You have all the thoughts sorted in your mind. You know what you want to write, but when you have to write it on paper, your spellings, punctuations, everything goes haywire. And handwriting. So, nobody can make sense of what you have written. So this is the importance of having accommodations. So now probably you will give much higher marks, right, to the student. So accommodations to students with dysgraphia can be of a writer. Students can say orally, and someone can type it for the students, or the students can be taught to use the computer. So these are accommodations which help the student perform to their true potential. So that's to do with dysgraphia. And when it comes to reading issues, a reader works. So it can be a human reader, or it can be text to speech software, which the computer has, and the computer reads out to the student. So looking at dyscalculia now, math is something that we need in our day-to-day life. It is not only about getting marks. There are several aspects of math. Understanding numbers, understanding time, understanding how to manage time, then making simple calculations. Even if we go to the grocery store to buy something, we are calculating, right? So how much money we are giving, how much taka I am getting back. So all that we have to do. So if our math ability, students who have dyscalculia, all these areas are affected. They also confuse between signs. So for example, the minus sign is given, they have divided. So confusion in that regard also happens. Everyday tasks are affected. They tend to count on fingers. Mental math is affected. Okay. So all of this. So math is a very important skill to have in our day-to-day life. So here I have just shown you a few examples of a student who made these kind of errors. The student had come for assessment to me, and in the math test, you can see the math teachers will take interest over here. So you can make out 48 and 19. So how the reversal has happened, the student has taken the 9 up and the 8 down, and the error has happened. Look at the division error again. So again, this complex addition, complex because it's minus 18 plus 12. So the answer should be minus 6. Minus is the higher number. So understanding these concepts can be affected. Then look at this decimal sum. The multiplication is done correctly, but the decimal point, the answer should have been 0.21. The student has written 2.1. So where to put the dot? And the fractions, okay, that's affected. So all of these skills, math calculation basically is affecting your daily living skills also, and also academics. So that's to do with dyscalculia. All the three we have discussed in brief to give you an overview. Now what we are going to do is, I spoke about a lot of things about dyslexia. I'll give you some statements and let's see if you are able to bust the myths. Okay, so this is going to be a poll-based activity. Some statements will come. You will have to tell me whether it's true, false, or you are not sure. I'll give you the answers at the end of the exercise. Okay, let's see how many of you get it. So the first one, dyslexia is rare. Aishwarya, can we have the poll? Take it, everybody, quickly. Okay. I think we should keep 30 seconds per poll over here, Aishwarya, in the interest of time. I'm getting a mixed response here. Okay, sharing the results. It's almost 50-50. 45% of you are saying this is a fact, and 51% of you are saying it's fake. Some of you are not sure. So this is a fake statement. It's not true. Dyslexia is actually not rare. The World Health Organization's latest data actually says 15 to 20% in a classroom could have dyslexia, which is a huge number. So Frobel has a smaller classroom, 20-30 students, but still out of them 3 to 5 students can have dyslexia. a specific learning disorder such as dyslexia, which amounts to a huge number overall in the school, right? So it is not at all rare. Please make a note of that. And let's have the next one, Aishwarya. The next sentence is dyslexia only affects students who speak English. Okay. Great. Fantastic answers. We'll keep it for 7 seconds more.
Ma'am, the poll is not appearing.
It should. Everybody's taking. I don't know whether you're able to figure out where it is. If someone can help Tahira on her
No,
personal
no, ma'am,
message.
it's appeared. Now it's appeared. Yeah, it's little slow.
Okay. Acha. There could be a lag,
Yeah.
So most of you got it. Tahira, attempt the next one. Most of you got it. 95% of you are saying it's fake. So it is to do with, it's a neurological condition, right? So every language has its own complexities. Like English has this, English is an opaque language. There is no one-to-one correspondence between the sound and its symbol. So the letter name could be A, but the way you read it could be A. Okay. But Bangla is more transparent, or the letter is O, and we, while reading it also, we are reading it as O only. So O, A, like that it goes. But don't make mark on the screen, avoid that. Okay. So every language has its complexities. Bangla has its matras. When I was small, I used to get confused between how many shaws are there, and my spellings in Bangla, wasn't that great. So I'll confuse, Dontesh shaw, Talibosh shaw, this shaw, that shaw. Then Hoshoi, Dirghoi. You have matras, all of these complexities. So every language comes with its own complexities. So dyslexia will affect all languages because it is neurological in nature. It won't happen in one and will not happen in another. If a student is only showing difficulty in English language and Bangla is not a problem, then it's a language problem. It's a language barrier. It's nothing to do with dyslexia because English is a foreign language for us. Okay, so let's move on. The next one is repeating a school grade can remove dyslexia. Take the poll, everybody. A few more seconds. That's it. We will see the results. Okay. So, most of you are saying 84% of you have said that this is a fake statement, and absolutely true. If you just repeat a school grade, nothing happens. First of all, this word remove dyslexia is by itself is wrong, because anything that is neurological in nature cannot be removed. So if you are a child with dyslexia, you will be an adult with dyslexia, but with right, intervention, you can, lead a very successful life. Dyslexia will not come in the way of you and leading a successful life. So it is the neurological condition. So it is, it will be there with you, but you can learn to cope with it, provided you identify it early and you work on the deficit areas. All right. So let's go to the next one now. The next one, Aishwarya, is dyslexia is a lifelong condition. This all of you should get. I have just said it. So I'm hoping. Let's see, but how many of you get it? Ten seconds more. Okay, let's share the results. Okay, so 57% of you have said that it is a fact. A lot of you are still saying it's fake. No, it's not fake. It is a fact because it is neurological. So it cannot get erased. Okay, but your brain can be trained to read and write and perform all the functions, which are affected due to dyslexia. So intervention is key. With early identification and intervention, students can succeed. There won't be any barriers. However, if there is no intervention and early identification, then the expectation from the students becomes higher, and the pace at which they are learning, the gap between the two widens and widens. Okay, so it is a lifelong condition. You can cope with it. Let's go to the next one. People with dyslexia cannot succeed in life. Let's have this poll. A few more seconds, we'll keep it. All right, let's share the results. Very heartening to see that most of you, 93% of you, are saying it's fake, and absolutely. And I keep reiterating, dyslexia will not, come in the way of you and success. Success does not always mean becoming Einstein or Michelangelo or, Abhishek Bachchan or whoever are these famous people. There are many famous people who have dyslexia. Success depends on, having what you want to do, whether a student is able to do that and is leading a happy, fulfilled life. So that can definitely happen. Okay. So you can definitely succeed with dyslexia. You can thrive with the dyslexia, in fact. Okay, let's move on. This is our final poll. Dyslexia cannot be identified until a child is 8 to 11 years old. Let's see. What do you think? Great. 5 seconds more. All right, let's share the results, Aishwarya. Okay, so most of you, 62% of you are saying it's fake, and that's correct. We do not have to wait till 8 years. Usually it's a misconception. Diagnosis happens at 8 years. We cannot diagnose a student with dyslexia because the brains, the literacy areas in our brains are developing from birth to 8 years. The full development of those areas does not take place till the time a student is 8 years of age. So there is still some probability, However, you can see some warning signs in some of your students as early as in the kindergarten. So from play school itself, if you start observing your students and if you know what to look for, you will know some of the red flags which are there. And you will then be alert, thinking that, okay, in future, this student may develop a language problem or a reading problem or a writing problem. So you can be alert as teachers. So you don't have to wait till 8 years to start identifying. Diagnosing is different, identification is different. Identification can happen as early as in the kindergarten. So let's move on. Let's have a look at some of the things that you as teachers can look out for when it comes to the indicators. So as I said, it can be identified right from the preschool years. So in the preschool years, if you observe students who have poor pronunciation, because here you are not really expecting your students to read and write. So we are mostly focusing on oral language skills, pronunciation, slow vocabulary growth. Then a lot of students do not show an interest when a story is being told. And the beginning skills, reading, learning the numbers, the letters, days of the month, all of these are taking a lot of time for the student to grasp. You are of course comparing that student with other students in that class. You cannot compare that student with anyone else. So if you see that other students, whatever you are teaching in that class in preschool, are picking up those skills and only a few students are lagging behind, then it is a red flag. Now, it shouldn't be like it's only one day when the student has struggled and you say it's a red flag. It has to be a pattern. So it has to be there for a few months, like 5, 6 months. You're observing the student and you can see, in spite of assistance and all, the student is just not progressing. There are many glitches. So that can be a red flag. Now, is it only dyslexia's red flag? No. There can be many other issues. There can be ADHD, there can be social communication disorders also. There can be a lot of other issues. So, but dyslexia can be one of them. So there are some other functions, behavior issues like restlessness. There are students who are very restless in the class. Sometimes, they start a task, but they cannot persist in the task. They lose interest. Poor fine motor skills like beading, threading, or, putting blocks, holding a crayon, all those areas can be affected. The student not showing any interest in drawing and tracing, trouble with right and left directions, and weak social skills. So at this age, if you have these cranky students, they're crying very easily, not able to socialize, these can be indicators. Then quickly, I'll take you through indicators for classes 1 to 4. So now you are expecting the students to do some reading and spelling. So now if reading and spelling are an issue, that will be a red flag. Slow vocabulary growth, then organization problems. So the student could have difficulty organizing their backpacks, the school pencil box, all those, areas. Then the students are learning new things, so they're not able to recall what they have learned. Then there are other functions, unstable pencil grip, careless mistakes. Okay. Then letter formation issues, like we saw that student with dysgraphia, difficulty with learning the time and sequence, what should I do when, math concepts start coming in, so difficulty with that, and overall distractibility. So these are some of the things. If you see one student particularly exhibiting not all, but a few of these characteristics over a period of time, then that's a red flag. Then in middle school years, language and memory now heavily comes into the picture. Not only is reading expected, but also reading comprehension is affected. So comprehension exercises students have to do, read a passage, answer the questions. Those start coming in. Word problems start coming in math. Okay, you have to recall a lot of, information now. Long answers come into the picture. And so all of these academic areas are affected. Other functions are like inconsistency in performance. Sometimes doing good in a subject, in the next term, not able to do well. Poor self-monitoring, showing up on time, then handwriting is affected. Reluctance to write, fist like pencil grip is like holding the pencil like this. So your grip is affected. And overall, since, you're exhibiting all of these, peer rejection starts coming in to the picture. It could come in early also, but now, friends start, calling you names or saying that, oh, you are no good. You don't know anything. You are stupid. You are dumb. You can't read and write. So those things could come into the picture by now, which reduces the self-esteem and the self-confidence of the student. Then in the high school languages, in the high school standard, explanation. So now more abstract concepts come in. So students have to understand those explanations. Multiple languages come into the picture. So in Bangladesh, you are doing Bangla, English. The Cambridge curriculum, Frobel, I know, does it. So they have other languages also. Some students do French. I know some do Spanish. So depending on what, SLD is a language based difficulty. So if one language is a problem, handling multiple languages becomes even more of an issue. Poor written expression. Summarizing is a high level skill. Not everybody is able to summarize. I have seen even some adults struggle to summarize information. So difficulty with summarizing. You have to take tests and exams now. Difficulty with that. Okay. And other functions include clumsiness. Abstract concepts like algebra, geometry comes in, difficulty, grasping those. You have to elaborate your answers, so difficulty with that. Poor social skills and peer interaction. So again, difficulty forming friendships. And because you are struggling with so much, it leads to mental fatigue and poor attention overall, and mental fatigue because you are dealing with too much, so you feel like giving up. So these are some of the indicators that you can keep in mind when it comes to high school students. And some non-academic indicators, which are mostly to do with motor issues and behavior. So again, gross motor, fine motor. It is not necessary all the time students who have dyslexia will have these issues, but a lot of times they have it. So these are red flags. Untidy appearance of, work. It doesn't look good. Your handwriting is messy, like we saw the example. your schedules are disorganized. So you are bringing in the wrong books in the class. You completed an assignment, but it's not the assignment that is expected of you today. Emotional issues are there. We see students on a spectrum. Some students become very shy and withdrawn, and some start acting out in class. So there could be students who are moving around in the class, playing the class clown, making fun of others, dropping things. Or there could be students who are just hiding in the back bench, they don't want to be seen by the teacher or called out by the teacher. So we have seen both, students on both the spectrum. Some students can get very aggressive because they're finding it very hard to learn, and overall low self-esteem and confidence that all of this results in. So these are some of the indicators that, roughly, if you see a student exhibiting over a period of time, at least for 6 months, and you have tried to help the student, but the student hasn't shown much progress, then your next step will be to, screen the student. You have to know your student well, at least for 6 months. So I have shared like 2 screening tools over here, which are free of cost, and you can download them. So the first one, I think some of you know about it. It's by Orchids. It's called First Screen, and it's available in 12 different languages. It's available in Bangla as well. So this can be a really beneficial tool for all of you. If you want to screen a student in Bangla, you can, and in English, it's available. There are around 99 items, in the screening tool. It's digital, so you enter the student's details, the birth date, and then you just, keeping the student in your mind, you just have to say yes, no, or sometimes. Okay, so for every item. So does your student make letter reversals? Yes, no, sometimes. So on and so forth. You have to answer questions. Automatically a report gets generated at the end of the screening. So there it's very user friendly, and you also get an explanation as to what are the areas in which your student is struggling. Immediate report with a graph. The other screening tool is an excellent screening tool. It's not available in Bangla. It is getting developed in different, languages. It will start with Hindi. So it's developed by a teacher, school teacher in UP, and it's been digitized by another person. So Alpa Nigam is the person who has developed this. She's a teacher in UP, and it's been digitized by Mr. Imran Khan. And it's a wonderful screening tool. It's called Dyslexia Screening for Early Identification. It has 70 items across 11 domains. And the interesting feature about this one is, and I'll give you the link to this tool so that you can just copy paste it, and immediately you'll get access to it. It's free of cost. You can start using it for your students from tomorrow. And it gives you not only the report, so Orchids will give you the skill areas, right? The first screen. This one will also give you remedial strategies. So as a teacher, if reading in these areas of reading, your student is having a problem, what kind of activities can you do in the classroom to help your student? So this particular screening tool is going to help you with that as well. So give you activities and how you can create those activities to help your child. So these are the 2 screening tools. And of course, after doing the screening, you will see that which are the students, who are getting like a red over there, like they are at risk for having dyslexia. So if you have students who are at risk for dyslexia, you will have to first do some intervention depending on what the screening tool is recommending. And if they are not improving, then refer them for a full psychoeducational assessment, and you will have to refer them to a clinical psychologist who is trained and who knows what tests to administer and the diagnostic procedure. Before the assessment is done, first the eye and the ear checkup of the student is done, because anything to do with learning involves vision and hearing. Then if there are sensory motor deficits, occupational therapy is recommended. If there are any speech deficits, speech and language therapy is recommended. And I know at Frobel Academy, all of this is done. So you have a very integrated setup. And of course, counseling, because I did speak about confidence issues, self-esteem. counseling helps a lot with that. So what is the solution to all of our issues? So if a student is at risk after screening, and after assessment, if the student is diagnosed with dyslexia, remedial education is the way forward. Remedial has nothing to do with school curriculum, so it is not having extra classes in the school which is curriculum based. So here the students have to be taught the rules of the language. I know in Frobel Academy they follow the Jolly Phonics. That's one of the remedial programs used to teach reading and writing. There are other structured remedial programs as well. So it has to be a scientific, structured, multisensory remedial program focusing on developing the skills of reading, writing, and math. Okay. And some of the accommodations, like I had spoken about a reader and a writer in my previous examples. Taking the Cambridge, I have just taken the example over here of the Cambridge International Education Board. These are some of the accommodations that the Cambridge does grant students who have dyslexia, who have a report stating that they have dyslexia. So extra time students get. So 15 to 20 minutes for each hour. You can also request for double time. They also have that feature, but then you have to give additional reasons for that. Students are granted a reader. Spelling errors are condoned. You are evaluated for content only. You can avail of a scribe, somebody who writes for you, or you can use a computer to type out your answer scripts. Calculator is actually given to all students in the Cambridge curriculum. It's not an accommodation. It helps with, but it is a great help for students who have dyscalculia, especially. And assistive technology. So speech to text, text to speech, reader pens, or smart pens for writing. Nowadays, all of these technology has come in, which is a great boon for students who have dyslexia. So all of these are, given by the Cambridge International Education. And to end my talk for today, a few tips for, teachers. So you can also do a lot in terms of classroom strategies. We cannot cover all that today. We'll have to do that some other day. But a few things to remember is that, like, break down the instructions when you are teaching a student with dyslexia. Don't give too many, because that confuses them. So if you're asking them to, like, go to page number 4, look at, underline the first sentence of paragraph 2, say the first instruction first, let them go to page 4, then give the second instruction. You can also give them visual instructions, like written down instructions with pictures. All of that can be done. And systematic instructions, and we cannot expect them to write like really long answers. So if a student is giving you answers orally, or if they are writing in point form, accept that. So that takes off the burden a lot, from students who have dyslexia. Also in terms of assignments, if you can, break down the assignments and tell them, like, do this part first and submit it to me, then do the next part. So break it into chunks, okay, and give one chunk to the student as an assignment. Let them finish only that chunk, then come back, and then you are giving the second one. That way it is more manageable for them. And there is also this sense of achievement that I have done something, I've finished a part. Okay, that is a good idea. And of course, in the end, nurture hobbies and interests. So students who have dyslexia are not, unintelligent. They are very intelligent. They are very smart. They can be excellent, at a lot of other areas. Like when I went to Frobel Academy, I was so surprised and taken aback by some of the skills that some of the students have. They have extreme difficulties in learning, but I saw their drawing skills or their other skills, creative skills, and I was like blown away. They were so good. So if we can push them in that direction, nurture those hobbies, they'll get that sense of accomplishment. Everything does not have to be about reading, writing. So do nurture those areas. Find out the strengths of your student, your child. What are they good at? And tell them, okay, pursue that, and create opportunities for small successes. It can be anything. It can be a small chunk of an assignment, or you can tell the student, help me distribute the notes in the class today. That also feels like, okay, I did something. It gives a sense of success. Or you write something on the board for the teacher. Give them opportunities to showcase their skills and leadership, and teach alternative sources of, teach them to use alternative sources of information. I've actually done one webinar on this. It is called the Digital Toolbox. It's available on YouTube. It was done live and it's freely available. You can check that out. So how many different kinds of tools are available free of cost, which students can use constructively for learning. So there is a lot which is for free. A lot of artificial intelligence based tools have also come in. However, I do not encourage AI, but you can still disable the AI features and use them for various other purposes. So teaching students to use that, you can watch that webinar of mine on YouTube for more information on this last point. Okay, you will get a lot of details over there. And that's it. We have come to an end of this webinar. And if you need more information on whatever I have spoken today, you can write to me on md@dyslexiaindia.com and I will be responding to your email. Okay, so if you have a particular question about a student, you can email it to me also. MDA also offers 15 minutes of free consultations. So make use of that. So if you want to discuss something as a parent or a teacher one-on-one with me, you can avail of a 15 minutes free consultation, meet me on Zoom, and we can discuss one-on-one also. Okay. So that's about it for today. And now I will take some questions. If there are any, you can put in the chat box or you can just ask me by unmuting yourself. All right, Najma. So if there are any questions, you can put in the chat or ask, or like I said, you can also avail of a free consultation with me and speak to me personally, email me, all of those options are there. Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to recheck of what I remember from last time discussing with what exemptions we can ask from Cambridge for the board examinee. So the samples and the examples you have shared, I just wanted to recheck that the validity of the report is for 2 years, right?
3 years.
3 years?
3 years. If
Okay,
the student is below 18, it's 3 years. If the
Okay.
student is above 18, it's 5 years.
Okay, so suppose a child in grade 8 will appear for the exam by the end of his 10th grade. So during 8th grade, if the scrutiny is done, assessment is done, then it will be valid for her.
Yes,
his or
it
her
will be
grade.
valid for 10th. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
For 12th, you'll have to get another one. then.
Another.
Yes.
Thank you.
I don't think there are any questions, Nusrat. Mostly done, it seems like.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. And you have kept the references also. If someone can put the title of the session, if you can put that in the chat box. So
Yes.
anybody interested?
Oh, and of course, I had to put that link to the screening tool. Yes, let me just. The one which gives you, just type bit.ly/dyslexia tool and you will get that screening tool. It's free. You can do it in English and it will give you some strategies if your student is at risk, or even if your student is not at risk. If any mild concerns are also there in some areas, it will tell you games, strategies which a teacher can, do with the students. So this can be useful. You wanted the title of the session, right? Nusrat, was that what you asked? It's called, it's specific learning disorder screening and identification. And this is live on YouTube, so you can access it at any point of time, today's session. Thank you, Tanzila. Thank you, everybody, for participating, taking the polls, and giving some good comments, responses during the webinar. Very happy to have all of you today.
Thank you,
Thank you, ma'am.
teachers, for making time for this. In a working day though, but I'm sure we have understood that how to even there are many things we knew and we are doing in practice, but there are some correctives that has been given by Dia. Would be very, very helpful. Thank you, Dia.
Most welcome.
I think we can end the session.
Absolutely. Bye, everybody. Have a great rest of the Sunday.
Bye, Miss.
Bye, bye,
Bye.
bye,
Thank
bye,
you
everybody.
so much.
Most welcome. Bye-bye.